Welcome to the Explainer. So did you know that right now, nearly half the world's population is fed thanks to synthetic fertilizer? It's absolutely crucial. But today, we're going to dive into just how fragile and heavily interconnected our global food supply chains really are. We're going to see exactly how a geopolitical crisis happening thousands of miles away directly impacts the price of a bag of fertilizer and ultimately a local farmer's very survival. It's a fascinating, honestly kind of terrifying domino effect, and understanding it is absolutely key to securing our future food supply.
Take farmer Ramesh Kumar out in the wheat fields of Punjab. For him, macroeconomic statistics aren't just, numbers on a spreadsheet. They translate literally into painful family sacrifices. When fertilizer prices spike, school fees get delayed. His daughter's wedding? Postponed. The math is simple, but the reality is just incredibly harsh. Everything depends on the crop.
So here is our roadmap for today. We'll start by tracing the global fertilizer shock, then look at the crushing reality for farmers on the ground. We'll unpack the dangerous yield versus profit trap, and then pivot to some incredibly innovative local solutions like DESI biochar and indigenous minerals. Finally, we'll wrap things up with a look at the new paradigm, the efficiency era.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the global fertilizer shock.
The domino effect of modern global trade is so fast, it's wild. Back on February 28th, geopolitical tensions forced the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Almost instantly, 20% of the world's liquefied natural gas and fertilizer transit routes were choked off. Literally weeks later, just as the critical April and May sowing seasons were kicking off, massive price spikes hit South Asia. A farmer in a local village ends up paying the price for a conflict happening an ocean away.
And to put that into perspective, look at just how heavily dependent this region is. India alone relies on this single route for up to 35% of its natural gas and phosphate imports, and their ag sector supports over 100 million families. Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, they're all in the same boat. When that strait closes, the essential chemical building blocks for their staple crops just stop showing up.
Okay, moving on to Section 2. Farmers feel the pinch. Let's see what these macro supply chain failures actually look like on the ground.
This financial reality right here is staggering. Look at these numbers between 2020 and 2026. Locally produced urea, which provides nitrogen, has definitely climbed. But imported DAP, which provides vital phosphorus, it has absolutely exploded by over 200%. We're talking a jump from around 4,000 rupees to nearly 13,000 rupees a bag. It's forcing farmers into totally impossible financial corners. So because of that, fertilizer now makes up a massive 45% of a farmer's total production cost. Think about that. Almost half of everything a farmer spends is buried in the dirt before a single seed even sprouts. It's kind of crazy to think the survival of a local farm relies entirely on chemicals shipped halfway across the globe, but that's where we're at. It completely squeezes their profit margins, meaning even with a great harvest, they might barely break even.
Which brings us to Section 3, the yield versus profit trap. Let's zoom in on the biological mistake this is causing.
Driven by pure financial desperation, a lot of farmers are making a critical error. They check the prices, panic a bit, and decide to overuse the cheaper nitrogen fertilizer while completely skipping the expensive phosphorus one. But crops need a balanced diet. Flooding a field with nitrogen gives you lush green leaves, sure, but without phosphorus, the plant ends up with totally weak roots and terrible grain quality. It's a false economy. It ruins the soil chemistry and, at the end of the day, slashes their profits.
We actually need to completely flip the script on how we view this. For decades, the golden rule was basically more fertilizer equals more food. Well, scratch that. The reality of modern farming is totally different. Unbalanced, excessive fertilizer just equals wasted money, destroyed soil, and lower yields. It's no longer about using more, it's all about ruthless input efficiency.
Thankfully, there's a silver lining here. In Section 4, we're looking at developing DESI biochar compost. Let's head over to the Agriculture University in Multan to check out some amazing local innovation.
Researchers there have developed this ingenious process to literally turn everyday waste into agricultural gold. They take tree branches, crop residue, kitchen waste, you name it, and convert some of it into biochar. Think of biochar as a carbon-rich sponge for nutrients. Then they throw it all into modern composting machines, rapidly mixing it to create a super powerful, locally sourced biostimulant.
And the payoff is absolutely huge.
By using this local, or DAC, biochar compost, farmers can cut their need for those crazy expensive chemical fertilizers by up to 30%, and they still get the exact same crop yields. Not only does this save them vital cash up front, but the organic matter acts as a shield, protecting their soil from severe weather and holding on to water way better.
Now, moving to Section 5, tapping indigenous mineral wealth. Instead of just looking at waste, what if we looked deep underground?
Backed by some serious R&D from the Geoscience Laboratory, there is a massive push right now to develop fused magnesium phosphate, or FMP, locally. Instead of holding our breath every time a global shipping lane is threatened, hoping our DAP phosphorus arrives, we can just manufacture FMP right at room. It acts as a massive buffer against the next global supply chain meltdown.
And the crazy part is, we literally have the raw materials right beneath our feet. By tapping into the potash-bearing basins of the Kahat-Karak Salt Range and massive indigenous gypsum deposits, the geological wealth is already there to create our own fertilizers. Gypsum, by the way, is fantastic for reclaiming lands ruined by salinity. We've got the rocks. We just need to focus on processing them.
All right, bringing this all together in our final section, the efficiency era. Let's look at the new overarching paradigm for modern agriculture.
The entire future of farming hinges on one concept: fertilizer use efficiency, or FUE. Just because you dump chemicals on a field doesn't mean the plant actually eats them. A huge chunk just washes away in the rain or evaporates. FUE is all about precision, making sure that exactly what you apply is actually absorbed and used by the crop. It's essentially precision agriculture for the everyday farmer.
So what is the actual game plan here? It's pretty straightforward, science-backed steps. First up, test your soil. No more guessing. Second, use split applications. Put down your phosphorus when sowing to build the roots, and then add nitrogen in stages later on. Third, mix in that organic biochar we talked about. If farmers stick to these tactics, they can easily maintain high yields without going bankrupt on wasted chemicals.
Leaving you with this to chew on: the era of cheap, limitless fertilizer, it's over. And honestly, the next geopolitical shock is probably right around the corner. The farms that survive aren't going to be the ones that just try to buy and dump the most chemicals. The farms that thrive will be the ones that adapt the smartest. Thank you so much for joining this explainer. We really hope it helps you see the deep science and economics behind everyday agriculture in a totally new light. Catch you next time.